possible things here. Okay, obviously, if it were all this easy, we'd be doing this and not doing factoring or quadratic formula. But it's not always this easy. Okay, it's only this easy. Aaliyah, I know you're taking that test. Ready? Oh, good. Okay, listen, take your things out so you can hear me. Okay. At the end, you're probably gonna be like, that's all? And we're gonna say yes. But only because we gave you beautiful problems. Okay, believe me, if A and B were different on any of these, y'all would be like, oh, never mind, I don't want to learn that. Okay, so just notice that, yes, it's going to be super easy because Ms. Dell can have to pick the problems, but they're not all this easy. Okay, so remember that the other day I was telling y'all about this process called completing the square. And it's where you force something to become factorable. We're forcing it to be something we want to factor because we get to make it what we want to. Okay?
Rather than doing quadratic formula.
Rather than do quadratic formula, which a lot of y'all hate, or rather than factoring. This one is actually easier than both of those, but these are only easier than both those because A is 1 every single problem, and because my B values, y'all see those B's? They're all divisible by 2. That's why these are so easy today. But some of y'all going downstairs to Kotler and in geometry, they force you to use completing the square, so we want y'all to at least see it before you go down there. All right, you ready? Okay, completing the square. I want you to think about here's the goal. The completing the square is you're gonna make your own trinomial. You're gonna force a trinomial that's factorable. That's what you're doing. So if I'm gonna force this trinomial right here to be factorable, I wanna create my own C. I want to make my own constant. That's basically what you're doing. Okay, look at, you're focusing on C, the square, because you're going to force this thing to be a perfect square. Okay, so to complete the square, first of all, you want to create your own constant. So we're going to add 46 to both sides. Because I want to make my own constant. I want to make this trinomial a perfect square trinomial, so I come up with the constant. Okay? So you have x squared minus 14x with this beautiful number that I'm going to create equals 5 plus 46. Okay? So I'm completing the square. I'm going to decide what number goes here by using another small little formula in math. To complete the square, there's a little formula. You need b divided by 2 squared. Okay, so you're going to take your b value right here, this guy, negative 14. You're going to divide it by 2, and you're going to square it. So what is negative 14 divided by 2? Squared is
49.
Okay, that means that this box I just forced to be a positive 49. I'm going to make that thing, I'm forcing this to be a perfect square trinomial. Okay, y'all, here's what you got to know. What you do to one side of an equation, you do to the other. I should have put those together, but I didn't. I forgot. Okay, so look what I did. I kept balance by what I did to one side, did to the other. Okay, here's what happened. You just forced this little trinomial to be a perfect square trinomial, meaning that both of his factors are going to look perfectly alike. So if me and Ms. Delk ask y'all to factor that right there, what would be his factor? Ooh, look how good y'all are. But there would be 2 of them. I know, you just forced it to do that right here. You forced that to make that right there. And on this side, you have 5 plus 46 is, plus 49 is, look at that. Also a perfect square. I'm forcing this thing to make perfect squares. Okay, so now the goal is, this is an equation that you're solving for x. So if I'm solving for x, what's the first thing that's got to go away? The square. How do you get rid of a square? You square root. What you do to one side, you do to the other. Okay, this cancels. Y'all know that by now. So you have x minus 7 on this side. All right, what do you have on this side? Do you know what number they use to get that 10? The positive or the negative version? Positive or negative 10. See how you're going to get those 2 answers that you need? So, solving an equation, what do you do to both sides? Add 7. So, we have x equals positive or negative 10 plus 7. Looks like the bottom of quadratic formula. So, here we go. X equals, we're going to go negative first. Negative 10 plus 7. 10 plus 7. If you factored it, you'd get the same answer. If you quadratic formulated it, you get the same answer. Okay? I know. What you basically did was solve by square rooting. And that's a process y'all haven't done in a while. You may have seen it before, because some of my kids have seen it. They just, when they get a crazy number, they don't know what to do with it. But I promise you, if y'all would have moved 5 over right here, you would have factored that and got those same answers. If you would have moved 5 over right here, you would have quadratic formulated all that and got the same answers. It's only that easy because A is 1 and because B is divisible by 2. Okay? If A was any other number than 1,
This wouldn't have worked.
it wouldn't have, yeah.
It wouldn't have been so
Talking about
pretty.
whole- right.
It'd be harder.
It'd be harder. If B was not divisible by 2 and created a fraction, it'd be harder.
Because then you had to rationalize.
Yeah, then we'd be rationalizing and y'all don't know how to do that yet.
I showed y'all that yesterday.
You did?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so watch the process again. Remember, we're gonna force this piece. We're forcing
Win.
this trinomial right here to be a
Give another
perfect
one.
square trinomial. So if I'm gonna force this to be a perfect square trinomial, I'm gonna create my own constant, so I'm gonna move this immediately. Because I wanna
Oh,
force that
I
to
see
be
it.
something that I want it to be. So right here, you would have m squared minus 8m, and this beautiful little constant that I get to come up with myself equals what? What? 33, right? Okay. How you complete the square is you take b, this guy right here, divide it by 2, and square it. What would you get? 16. Okay, that means we're going to add 16 right here. What you do to one side, you do to the other. All right. Okay, remember, you forced this to be a perfect square trinomial, so his factors look perfectly alike. So what would be his perfect square trinomial? M minus 4 squared equals what?
33. I mean,
Look at that beautiful number. See, like if I took it, you're basically doing this little work right here. Negative 8 divided by 2, negative 4, you're squaring it right here. See that? You're coming up with your number by yourself. All right, it's time to solve because that's an equation. What are you gonna do?
take square
Square root.
root.
How many
Do one side and do
solutions?
the other. These cancel. So you have m minus 4. Hey, give me that number.
Positive or negative 7.
Look at that. If you ask to solve, what are you gonna do? Add 4. So we got 2 answers. Let's go negative first because we know it's gonna be smaller. Negative 7 plus 4. Negative 3. And 7 plus 4. Look how fast that is. Look at not having to factor and not having to run quadratic formula.
Well, once again, this only works if A is 1 and B is divisible by 2.
Yeah.
You don't want to do it if it doesn't meet that
If it
criteria.
doesn't do that, if